Welcome back. Today's video is the second part in my series. It's not even a series. Who am I trying to kid? My last video, I shared with you something pretty heavy on my heart and pretty solid, okay? Today, I want to kind of follow that up with something that I hope encourages you, something that I hope inspires you. I hope you are the mama that needed to hear this. 10 mistakes that I have made over the course of our homeschooling journey. I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mom of 3 boys. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and elementary school. This year, right now, we are 10 and a half years into our homeschooling journey. I think it's kind of a good point to pause and reflect. As naturally I'm doing this, I'm a journaler by nature. I love to think and ponder and write and all of it. So 10 mistakes. Now, I want you to know coming into this, like this isn't a regret. These are not regrets that I have. These are just things looking back over our 10 and a half years homeschooling that I wish I would have heeded the advice from others. I wish I would have listened. I wish I would have known some of these things and really how unimportant some of the things really truly were in our homeschool journey. Like some things I stressed about and some things I worried about really are nothing in our story. So let's do this. First year of our homeschool, first 2 years, I tried to be somebody that I was not. And I tried to be incredibly, I don't know if I'd say type A. I'm not a type A personality. Those of you who are, you're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. I cannot live or breathe that way. But I tried. And it made life miserable for my oldest son and I at the time. This was kindergarten, guys. Kindergarten. Keep in mind, my kids are not going to school to be doctors, okay? I don't have mad scientists on my hands. I don't have lawyers. What we are doing for our boys is going to set them up beautifully for what they want to do with the rest of their life. Had I had doctors or lawyers or whatever else, I would probably do things a little bit different. Maybe not, because this is us, right? I come, I show up, and God does the rest. However, the schedule I was on, the Follow the Teacher's Guide from Abeka, yeah, we used Abeka. No dogging on the curriculum because it's amazing, it's solid. However, for kindergarten, it was quite a bit intense. I was in over my head, and it was my first year. I knew nothing about homeschooling. I was trying to recreate public school at home. If you don't already know, that is a huge time out. We're not doing that. We are not doing that. That's not the point or the purpose of homeschooling. We are not creating that. These are not the walls of a school building. This is our home. So that was one of my first mistakes, was obviously being too rigorous. You're gonna laugh. I'm trying to be super cool and professional. Let me get you propped up here. I'm trying to be super punctual and use my time very, very wisely to get videos filmed for you guys and be like a little more, probably not, but maybe a little more predictable. However, my battery died, so I had to change that out. And of course, I only have one that has battery life left. None of this is anything you guys care about, but okay, so you're gonna laugh at me when I say this, but the next mistake that I made in our homeschool was the exact opposite of the last one: being too loose, being too flexible, thinking that my kids are gonna wake up and just want to do school on their own. Spoiler alert, that is not gonna happen. Maybe. I guess I shouldn't say it's not going to. Not with my kids, not with my boys. They would way rather be outside doing anything and everything, probably even chores, as opposed to schoolwork. So being too loose and just thinking that we'll kind of go about our day and then school will happen when it happens as far as sitting down and doing bookwork. It's almost as much of a disservice as it was to be too rigorous. Like there's a happy medium for me, for my family. Again, this is our journey. This is my opinion. For us, there's a happy medium. There's a balance. There's a sweet spot. Somewhere in the middle of too rigorous, somewhere in the middle of too soft is our sweet spot. That's where we're at. The next one you guys are gonna laugh at, but I had to put this in because this is legit an issue. Do not attempt to homeschool your children on empty bellies. Your kids have to have, especially if they're boys, ample amount of food. We get the best, most productive schooling day in when their bellies are full and when they're snacking right along as we're doing school, as we're doing read alouds, as we're doing family time. Yes, please have a snack. Make yourself happy, make mama happy. Let's get this done. I kid you not. Make sure your kids have snacks, have food, that they're hydrated, that they have full bellies. It goes so much more smooth. My kids have to have full bellies. Sounds like a simple thing, but there are many, many, many a days that we have overlooked food in our homeschool. 9 times out of 10, if it is a rough homeschool day, it's either lack of sleep, too much socialization, because yeah, that's a thing. Doing too many things outside of the home, too much, like, it's a thing. No sleep, way too much socialization, and no food. Those are like the 3 biggest factors in determining how our homeschool day is gonna go. And that includes no sleep for mom, because yeah, that messes things up too. Next thing is allowing time for breaks. I am notorious and famous for just trying to push through so we can get it done. Like, we'll do read aloud, we'll do Bible, we'll do morning time. Okay, sit down, we're gonna do gather around homeschool. Like, we're gonna do our unit study. Then, okay, go do your math, and then now do spelling. You gotta have breaks. And there's a happy medium with that too, because too much break, too much free time, I lose them. Guaranteed, I lose them. I have to set a timer, and I have to keep it like 5 to 10 minutes, because our goal is to be done with our, sorry, I have a hair in my eyes. Our goal is to be done with our homeschool day before lunch. Like, when we're stopping for lunch, that's the end of our homeschool day. So our breaks before that need to be just short and sweet and simple. Go outside, ride your bike, come down the street, come back. You know, tend to something that's not school for 5 minutes. I'm gonna make myself a fresh cup of coffee, meet you back at the table when the timer goes off. Like, I have to keep it short and sweet, because if I don't, I'm gonna lose them. But I cannot ignore or disregard how important those sweet, simple little breaks are. That includes me not being distracted. If I'm distracted, if I'm folding laundry, if I'm doing the dishes, if I'm trying to answer someone on my phone, like an email or a phone call, oh man, phone calls are the worst. Like, put it away. Just put your phone away during school hours and just homeschool, because it never fails. You'll get a phone call and you can be on the phone for 2 minutes and everybody's like, mom's distracted, make a run for it. It's true. It's true. So just put your phone on silence, put it away, homeschool the kids, tend to everything else after. Actually on my list, but so incredibly important, and I'm glad that that came into my mind. School outside. If I can say one thing, one of the things I would tell you mamas, it doesn't matter how old your kids are, but especially if you have littles, take your books and your school to the park. Put a tent up in the backyard in the fall and go out and read to your kids. Read them a book out in the tent. Like, we have done so many days, not like an unrealistic amount. I'm not that mom. I wish I was, but there are so many days throughout our homeschool year that we will go in the backyard, especially in the spring and in the fall. We absolutely love taking books outside and our school books and me reading to the kids. Now, this has to come with instruction, because obviously if I say we're doing school outside, there are 1,000,010 things for them to look at and I will lose them so quick. So it's like, if we're doing this, if we're saying we're gonna go do school outside, that means you are going to give me your full attention. We are going to do what we need to do, and then we're free to break. Like, it's a treat to get to go outside in the tent or to go to the park or whatever. We even went to a coffee shop one time. It really ended up being kind of like a nightmare. So I think I wanna try it again. It was my very first time taking stuff to a coffee shop. So I think that might be why, like, it was easier just to do everything at home instead of postpone it and take it out with us. However, I do believe that that can be so beautiful and so good for the kids too. So number 7, copy and paste. I mentioned this in my last video where I was kind of sharing one thing that I really, really, really needed to tell you guys. So I'll link it down below if you haven't watched it yet. However, copy and paste. Thinking that I can see or notice how somebody else homeschools their kids, and that I can just bring that into my home and it's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna go great. I fell into that trap. I fell into the beautiful, new, bright, fun curriculum trap. I fell into that trap of believing that we had a bad day because it was the curriculum. We need to change curriculum. Like, I was one of those hoppers for a long time, and part of it is just my personality, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. But there are times that I wish that I would have just stuck it out a little bit longer instead of just hopping, because it was new and it was different. Because my personality is to change it, doesn't mean that that's gonna be helpful or beneficial to my kids. There's a sweet spot with that too. There's a sweet spot right there, mamas, also, that I've learned. Sometimes you do need to change it, but sometimes it's okay to stick it out too. So sweet spot. Only you know, only your kiddos know, like you have to figure that out. But no matter what we're talking about, methods, planning, whatever, there are so many ways we can do this, and so many mamas, like homeschool mamas, sharing how they do, which is so helpful, and it's a beautiful blessing. But I do know that I was guilty of thinking that this is working for them, so it's gonna work for us. Oh, this is what they do, so we need to do it. Or this is how they line out their day and their schedule, so let's do it. A helpful tool and a very helpful resource to have all of this information in all of these different ways. Like, it's truly, truly, truly beautiful to be encouraged and to have this homeschool community. But there are times that sometimes we're looking at everything else and we forget to just bring it in and do what works for us. Next mistake that I want to mention that I was guilty of in my homeschool journey was very much not giving enough credit to like the early learning and playing. So being outside and foraging, like through all the things, going out on walks and nature hikes and all of that. Like, in my mind, I always wanted to do that, but realistically, we just didn't really ever do much of that. And I wish I would have. I wish I would have spent more time when my kids were little, truly just going on a walk and soaking up our walk and looking at what we could see and what we could find and all the different rocks and the different leaves and the different acorns and sticks and snakes and whatever else you find, you know, when you're out on a walk. Like, so many things that can be taught and learned when you're out in nature, when you're outside, when you're using crafts and doing crafty things, painting and all of that. There's so much of that that I didn't do early on because I was stuck in the mentality. Again, if you watch my last video, it'll all make sense, but I was stuck in the mentality of public school at home, and there wasn't a lot of that exploring and stuff in public school. I was public schooled. I was not homeschooled. This is totally new and foreign to our family until we stepped out, and this is now our journey and our story. And this is 10 and a half years now that we've been homeschooling. So it's definitely a learning process. Absolutely, most definitely. And with that, I just have to say, like, I wish I would have given more time and more credit to some of that, like, free learning, if that makes sense. Two more things that I want to share. The next thing, not enough reading. I wish and wish and wish, like, that I truly would have spent more time reading picture books to my kids. And we read picture books quite a bit. Like, that's not a foreign thing to us. But I so wish I would have read so many more picture books to my kids. There is so much learning to be found in reading and such a love for learning. And I just kind of, for whatever reason, once they figured out how to read, this is a mistake I made. It's a lesson, right? We learn. I just kind of got to the point where when they could read, we just started moving on to chapter books. Like, you can read, okay, so do independent chapter books. We're missing out on so many good memories, on such good quality time just reading picture books just to read instead of assigned chapter book readers that we have to read. I really, really, really wish that I would not have done it that way. So if you have youngers that are just now learning how to read, maybe you're homeschooling toddlers, homeschooling kindergartners, and you're still in that picture book phase, don't let that picture book phase end. Like, carry that through, because I don't care how old they are. My kids all still love to sit down and read a book together. Like, I wish that I really would have kept doing that all the way through. Luckily, I caught it within the last year and a half, and kind of have tweaked things around a little bit, which has been good. I'm so grateful. But that's one of the mistakes I made that I would love to be able to change. And then last of all is grace. Like, mamas, we are not gonna do this perfectly. What even is perfect? What even is homeschooling perfectly look like? What does that look like? Like, somebody please tell me, because I'm lost. Like, every day is a learning experience. Everything we bring into our home, all of it. This whole journey is a process. Life is a journey and a growing process. Like, it's never gonna be the same, and it's always changing. That's the same thing, but it's always changing. And with every kid it changes, and with every year it changes, with every season it changes. Like, this is the most relaxed I've ever been in every single year of homeschooling. And my oldest is in high school. If you go back to last year, I was quite panicking and freaking out about having a high schooler. Like, thank you, God. I just am like, yep, we're doing it. We're doing it. That's not me. That's God. That's us showing up. Like I mentioned in the last video, God does the rest. Like, give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be so hard on yourself. Allow time and room for life to happen, because that is homeschooling or learning at home. All the things, life skills, book work, all the things. Do all of it and show up for all of it and do your best, and he will sustain you. The quote from last time, what he initiates, he will sustain and he will fulfill. That's like my jam, guys. So take it, write it somewhere, put it right here. Remind yourself of that on those super, 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 super hard days that come sometimes more often than not. Remember that, okay? That's what I have for you in today's video. I wrote down 10. I think I gave you a few more than that, but that's what I have for you. I hope that this encourages somebody. Those are just some mistakes I made. Again, not looking back like that I wish I would have done it different necessarily, because it's all made our journey what it is right now. But seeing like, wow, okay, that could have been better. That could have been different. This could have been more helpful. And just kind of what I've learned along this journey. That's what I want to share with you guys. Just one homeschool mama to another is simply what this is. I hope that this message finds the sweet mama that it is intended for, and I will see you guys when I see you next time. Bye.